Hello everyone, this is Scorcher Toys at Anymoon.com's review of the Sentinel Riobot 148 scale Legioss Iota, as seen in Genesis Climber Mospita and piloted by either Ray or Yellow. I often call it a Legioss, but it's perhaps best known as a Robotech Alpha fighter, where it was primarily piloted by Rand or Lance Belmont. I'm going to be comparing the Riobot today to Toynami's Masterpiece Alpha. The Toynami hit stores in 2004 after what felt like a couple years of development and retailed for $79.99 US dollars. Whew, that is about 20 years ago. As the name would indicate, the Toynami Masterpiece was meant to feel like a high-end collectible, and that began with its beautiful book-style box. It's got gold foil, a window that displays the toy, a slide-out tray, a limited edition certificate. It's a fantastic box. If you just want to reminisce over a Masterpiece toy, I do have an incredibly thorough review you can see by clicking the card now. The Toynami Masterpiece has long since ended production, and I know a lot of people probably own one and haven't been able to convince themselves to upgrade. After the turds, CMs, and Evolution toys shipped in a box, I understand your reluctance. The Riobot debuted in 2020 and cost 25,000 yen, basically triple the Toynami MSRP from 20 years ago. If you're shopping for toys, please hit my campaign link in the comments below to head to Big Bad Toy Store. You'll find everything you're looking for, lots more stuff you didn't even know was out there, and you'll support this channel in the process. Okay, so you're looking at your bookshelf right now and you're like, meh, the Toynami's good enough. Sure, the box for the Riobot is attractive, but it's not even close to the amazing display piece the Masterpiece box is. Besides, you know the Riobot is a bit smaller than the Toynami, and the Toynami has a ton of metal and feels like a brick in your hand. The Riobot is much lighter. So how could it be so much better you should spend your hard-earned money on it? Maybe you're someone who has their alphas out of the books, and in that case, you might get a lot of mileage out of the display stand included with the Riobot. It has a wide base, 3 pivot points, and a swivel on the arm, and the ability to put multiple toys on one base. The Riobot gives you the opportunity for very dynamic displays. Not everybody wants a dynamic display though. Maybe you're someone who likes to have his fighters parked like they're on an aircraft carrier. Well, then you might be the type of person who has always been frustrated by the lack of ground clearance on the Toynami. Under the best circumstances, the Toynami can slide paper under the chest hump and usually has a banana shape with the nose pointed slightly up. The Sentinel, on the other hand, has ground clearance which seems downright practical. Toynami simplified the landing gear and they look terrible. The Riobot follows the design drawings and has much better looking gear that even function better. If you apply the included sticker on your Toynami, it dresses it up quite a bit, but that depends on your abilities and how much time you're willing to put into it. Mine are all naked, so they look bland, but at least I didn't goof it all up. Sentinel has painted on all the key markings on their toys, and it looks much better for it. Sure, both toys can stow their guns under the wing with the magazine removed, but the Sentinel also comes with a central missile rack and the ability to attach the gun to the rack. Sentinel gives us pop-out covers for the intake that reveal fan detail inside. Also, look at those forearms. The Sentinel forearms are butting right up against the shoulder. No matter what I do, my Toynami toys always have a gap there. Sentinel isn't without build quality issues though. Both my Yoda and Eta reissues have a panel on the nose that just never recesses flat. If you figured out how to solve that, please drop me a comment. I'd love to know. Note that the overall shape of the Sentinel fighter mode is very different from the Toynami. The feet in particular on the Toynami are going way past the wings. The Sentinel, on the other hand, captures that triangular shape of the Alpha, while the Toynami tacks on a back half they couldn't figure out how to collapse. Also note how much bigger the cockpit and pilot are on the Sentinel. Remember, this is supposed to be a vehicle so small they could quickly cover it with like shrubs and it just disappeared to the invid. Now, you can't really imagine that with the Toynami, which has a teeny tiny pilot, so that makes the vehicle seem that much larger. And the Sentinel pilot figure is articulated, which adds to the fun value and creates a lot of very cool display options. You can enjoy lots of posing with either the Alpha or the included Cyclone. Sure, the Toynami comes with a Cyclone too, but it's a plastic square meant to be hidden forever. While the Toynami does feel like a brick in fighter mode, there are lots of issues to be concerned about. I've pointed out the gap in the forearms already, that's noted. The door, the front landing gear door, there's a pin in here. If the landing gear door isn't opening easily for you, if you force it open, you're just gonna break the door right off. So be careful with that. You can see I've got a crack on my heel right here, something bad happening there. The other fairly common issue, there's a plastic peg at the center of the arm, and that plastic peg can break and you'll open up your toy and the arm will fall right off. So those were issues with Toynami to contrast with that Sentinel panel that's not sitting flush. And the best reason to move on from your Toynami Masterpiece toys is if you haven't transformed in a while, there's a good chance they're breaking on your shelf. I tried to transform 2 of these green ones. I had one leg fall off. You can see the hip joint has just crumbled apart. My other one, the chest is broken on that. That might be salvageable with a lot of super glue. We'll see. So I'm going to move on to the Aoshima toy for the rest of this review. There are some minor differences. Check out my Aoshima review by clicking that card right now. Transformation of these 2 different toys couldn't be farther apart. The Aoshima or Toynami Masterpiece, very simple, but very clunky as you go. The manufacturing tolerances on these toys are awful. And so things that are supposed to slide don't slide easily, and things that are supposed to lock into place either don't or they require a scary amount of force to do that. In contrast, the Sentinel toy, very smooth transformation, but much more complicated. Now you do get things like an integrated sensor array on the shoulder instead of a separate part, but it does take a few more minutes for sure to get into diver mode. But as you do it, as you pull things apart, everything slides nicely, gets to the right point, and clicks into place as it should. So a much more, I would say, rewarding experience. And then when you get here, it just holds together better. Now on the Toynami toys, this would be your first instance where you have to deal with the rubber hands. Those hands are awful and break very quickly. This little heavy forearm piece, which is metal, often falls down like mine is doing right now. On the plus side, the Toynami gun, or the Aoshima gun, much chunkier. It looks more like a pea shooter on the Sentinel, where it looks like a nice heavy armor piercing whatever, just destructive weapon over here, more elegant weapon on this side. I'd say both toys look pretty darn good in this mode, but obviously, again, the more painted on details and just the better detail work overall, this toy clearly 20 years newer, and it's represented throughout. Now, as you handle the toy also, there's articulation involved, and we have these metal feet. We have the ability to twist the up and down. There's a ball joint in here. So great feet, camber back and forth, letting you do a lot of good things here. Whereas on the Aoshima toy, that foot is pretty much solid, right? You got a little up and down, but there's not much left and right. little wiggle in the heel for some reason, but you're not gonna get dynamic poses. Whereas with the Sentinel toy, you can actually play with it and have some fun. If you're new to my channel, you're probably being like, why doesn't he show me transformation? And I do have separate videos that I do for that. I just don't like to weigh down the reviews with the transformation steps. So do check out those other videos. Now, if you're a pure line art fan, the Toynami is really hard to beat in Soldier or Batloid mode. It looks friggin' gorgeous. It's right dead on to that line art. I am highly appreciative of what they did. Sentinel kind of gave themselves an out. They said, look, we're doing the modern interpretation. If someone were to draw a comic book today, and they actually did that, with a Legioss or Alpha or Legioss, whatever you want to call it, in it, it would look like the Sentinel. That's their argument. Either way, the Sentinel is a very attractive looking toy, if not spot on to the line art. Now, as we look at these toys from the rear, the big difference you're gonna see is that nose cone. There's a unique transformation here, something we've never seen on an Alpha toy before that is really cool. And what that is it puts the cockpit directly below the head of the vehicle, of the toy. So that creates this new cool feature where we can pop the head up and then slide the canopy back right below the head, and you could see the pilot inside, and then we can open up that canopy even, and there's the pilot. You could do cool in and out poses. So that is a really cool feature. The other thing to point out as we look at the back of the toy is the metal. We have metal in the ankles, metal in the knees, metal in the shoulders. Basically, you have metal in all the high stress areas. So this toy is built to last longer. That's in comparison to the Toynami MBC, which I have already told you is shattering on me. This one has the rebuilt chest, maybe got a little glue on the eye, whatever. But this has metal in things like the hips, which are connected to plastic pegs, and you saw how well that worked out for me. Then you have metal on the forearms, and again, there's a plastic peg inside the forearm. So really, these things are built to fail. Were built to be very heavy, which is nice the first time you pick them up, but then all of that heft creates strain in places where you would really want metal parts, and on the Toynami, those parts are made of plastic. So again, exacerbating all of those durability issues, whereas you see much more intelligent design on the Sentinel toy. Speaking of design elements, we of course have the integrated missile bays on both of these toys, which is pretty cool. I gotta give Toynami props. They were one of the first toy companies to pull this off, and we got the missile bay in the shoulder, and then we have the forearm ones, which didn't really work out so well. The detail is slid in under there. Now you could also see I've got a very curved door here, and in fact, this whole piece just pops right off. And then moving down, we have the missile bays on the legs, which are very difficult to open. They didn't give us a little fingernail slot, and none of these are concealed hinges. They're just very easy flop open bay doors. But for the time, again, pretty cool that we finally got the missile bays. Now Sentinel has done it a step better. We have better detail work, full circles in the forearms, doors that are open and close very easily and effectively, aren't warped. And then on the bottom, we have these concealed hinge doors. So to open this, you can just slide it forward, and then it makes it real easy to open up. And you have all the appropriate doors on both. So you still get your missile gimmick, and it works out a whole lot better on the Sentinel. Let's throw playing with these toys out the window, because you're not going to be playing with the Toynami MBC. It's far too delicate at this point to really play with. So let's just talk about articulation and which one's gonna look better in a cool pose on your shelf. Now, you can see the Sentinel can get a very aggressive wide stance, and it has the foot articulation to make that look natural. The Toynami MPC, which has more A stance ability than the Aoshima, can only go that far. So definitely nothing doing there. Now the other area where the Sentinel is going to just crush this toy is your elbow. So you can only go that far with the Toynami, and it swivels, right? That's your range of motion. Now I'm going to put that aside before that toy falls apart. With the Sentinel, on the other hand, you have the elbow joint in the middle. And if I don't do anything, I got 90 degrees. That's great. But you can also swivel the forearm independent of the elbow swivel to get more than 90 degrees. So that's really cool. You also, moving down the toy, have a ab crunch, which does not exist in any shape on the Toynami. And you do get the same swivel. So you're not giving anything up, but now you're getting an ab crunch and better elbows and better ankles, more stability. And again, just a much, much better handling experience that would also be a playable toy and look really cool on the shelf. And don't forget, you also get that display stand, so you're not limited to just what's on the shelf. I also forgot to mention the head is on a ball joint, so that's gonna let you do cool things like this. Again, just such an amazing display piece, so much better. Speaking of display piece, another place where the Sentinel outshines the Toynami is these translucent bits here. I've already talked about all the painted detail, which again, fantastic. On the Toynami, you got some metallic paint to simulate translucent parts, but on Sentinel, they went for broke. You actually get those translucent parts and that great look. You also get a fun little gun gimmick on the green and red versions, at least. They took the rifle and they said, you know what, let's give it kind of the same treatment as the handguns and make it so you can swap it into different configurations. So it disassembles into these components. We can take the centerpiece and there's this additional sort of grenade launcher effect. And we have the gun here, and we could still have the magazine in there too. But there you go. You have this like really cool ability to swap the guns with the green and red versions into these other versions of the gun, which are pretty cool looking and more fun play value for you. Okay, so my Toynami and Aoshima toys these days are basically crap, and it's a pretty easy argument that you should make the move to Sentinel if you still want to have one of these on your shelf and don't want to worry about it falling apart when you fiddle with it. But Toynami and Aoshima have one huge thing going for them, and that is the beta. There is a great beta toy that goes along with these, and it matches up with it in fighter mode or Batloid mode. It's a fun accessory and toy on its own. But that said, Sentinel has recently been teasing their own tread toy, which is a beta for those of you who aren't Miss Beta. TLED, if you want to be crazy. So that hopefully is going to be the last nail in the Toynami Aoshima coffin. When that comes out, there's going to be no argument against making the move to the Sentinel product. Really looking forward to that. And of course, I will be following up with reviews of that as soon as that is available. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Check out all my new videos as they come up. If you found this at all informative, give me a thumbs up. And as always, everybody, thanks for watching.